let's make sure. Yes, it looks like we are back on the air. So I apologize for that. Not sure what happened, but everything just stopped streaming. So we are back on the air. We just finished up discussing what we were talking about, Darksiders 3. If you want to hear that portion of the discussion, check out the audio version because that's the only spot you'll be able to hear the rest of that discussion. We are going to continue on with the show, though. Boys, there is a trio of awesome-looking independent title games that got release dates. Let's talk about Chasm, Dead Cells, Death's Gambit, as well as Hollow Knight's final DLC.
Yeah, so, I alluded to it a little bit earlier in the show, but we've got a very busy August planned for us in the independent space with some really, really solid-looking titles. So starting July 31st, Chasm finally releases on PS4, Vita, and Steam. Chasm, very cool-looking Metroidvania title. Been looking forward to this one for a while. It was a Kickstarter darling a few years back. Finally has a release date now of July 31st. This is definitely my kind of game, so I'm looking forward to playing that one. The following week, on August 7th, another one of my kind of games, Dead Cells. It's a game I've been talking about for a while, Brent. I remember seeing this game in early access, talking to you about it, being like, dude, this game looks sick. And like people have been talking about it, fluid combat, Metroidvania, just sweet action, tough as balls as well. So definitely looking forward to Dead Cells. And then a game that I've been growing more and more excited about every time I see it is Death's Gambit. And this game comes out on August 14th. So back to back to back, we got Chasm, Dead Cells, and Death's Gambit. And I don't know if you guys have been following this game or watching the trailers, but this game has a very, very strong Castlevania vibe about it. It's a Metroidvania game. There's tons of RPG elements as well, different classes, different weapons you can use, skill trees, just huge, inventive-looking bosses in this game as well. Love the style of it. Death's Gambit screams Ben. That game is just one that I have to get my hands on and play. Looks epic. It looks like it's going to be tough as well. But these three games, man, just week after week after week, has me very excited about the beginning of August and playing through those games, leading into the big fall season, the fall rush that starts in early September. But the other thing I'm wondering about this is, typically around this time of the year, like PlayStation does some kind of a like summer promotion, like PSN Play or Totally Digital or whatever they're calling it. And there's 3 weeks in a row there. We've got 3 like top-notch titles in Chasm, Dead Cells, and Death's Gambit. Are we going to get the information on the PlayStation Summer program soon? And is it going to include these 3 games? To me, it just seems like it's a no-brainer that there's going to be some type of a promo to highlight these games.
Well, Dead Cells currently already has a 20% discount pre-order. So, I mean, if they wanted to include it, it's ready to go right now. And so if they did announce it, I would hope it'd be pretty soon because Chasm drops next week, correct?
31st.
So hopefully that's the case. But yeah, as of right now, I know Dead Cells is up for pre-order. It's got 20% off. But yeah, these games look awesome, dude. And these games should do well in August. Like you said, before the big fall rush, we're still knocking out Moments of Triumph, so it's going to be a little difficult. But for everyone that's not playing Destiny 2, these are some quality titles that are quality-looking titles that are dropping the next couple of weeks. And, yeah, that'd be cool if they could get that PlayStation Play program out and include these games because these are all prime candidates for something along those lines.
Yeah, just go figure that. I've really been looking forward to all 3 of these games, and they're all coming out back to back to back in 3 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
So, go figure. What do you think about this? What do you think about this lineup, though, Frankie? This is like 3 badass games, right?
Yes, I am absolutely excited about all of these games. So, and on top of that, you have Monster Hunter on the Switch a couple weeks later. So these are like that nice appetite before Monster Hunter and Yakuza.
Yeah. It's so July's been kind of like our break from the release schedule. There hasn't been a ton of stuff coming out every single week. It's been a few quality releases here and there, but August really looks to ramp it back up in both the independent and the retail space. So it's it can be a lot of stuff to play leading into the release of Forsaken. And then Frankie, we got the final DLC for Hollow Knight. We got the release date for that. What is it? August 23rd? Somewhere around there. And that's going to be coming to both the Switch and PC. It sounds like this is going to be a pretty beefy update in so much that this is the largest update that they're going to release yet for the title. It's going to have new bosses, new music, new NPCs, and new quests for this game. So Hollow Knight has been a sensation for Team Cherry. It's been a huge success for them. People, are loving this game. Lots and lots of praise for it. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that if you're a Hollow Knight fan. Frankie, you made any more progress in that game as of late?
No, I just I've been chipping away at Mod Nation because that server shutdowns kind of take precedent over a lot of other things because
Yeah.
I could still play that game after October 10th.
Mm-hmm.
I probably will, but I did want to note too that last year when I was I was checking in on Hollow Knight almost weekly to see if they had finally announced a Switch release date because I've just been foaming at the mouth to get this game. But one of the things that they mentioned in one of the last updates before the Switch version came out was, that people were asking about other console versions, and they're saying, when we're done, with the Switch version and wrapping up the DLC, we'll be able to take a look at other platforms. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess that somebody's gonna end up porting this game to PS4 and Xbox One, probably this fall. But yeah, so that'll be exciting because if that game comes out, I want a platinum trophy for Hollow Knight because that game is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely love to feature that one on the Indie Spotlight one of these weeks. So I will be waiting in the wings. But yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion that the game will be on Xbox One and PS4 at some point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Should be. It's a hell of a game, and it's selling very well. I think it would sell even on bigger consoles with a bigger audience. So that should be pretty cool to see when that happens. So we're going to stick with independent titles. Nintendo had their 78th annual general shareholders meeting at the end of last month, and Nintendo executives faced questions about the future of the Switch, specifically about indie games. One shareholder asked, quote, "Indie games have become a hot topic recently. As games made by small-scale developers around the world with relatively low development costs, how will Nintendo integrate these kinds of games into its future business strategy?" And right away, Nintendo senior executive Susumu Tanaka gave a surprisingly high estimate for exactly how many games the company hopes to bring to the Switch. You ready for this, guys? Quote, "We are actively engaging with indie developers at video game-focused shows and other events in different regions. Some of the indie games already released have gone on to become million sellers worldwide. In the future, we are looking to release around 20 to 30 indie games on Nintendo Switch per week. And we definitely expect to see some great games among them. 20 to 30 independent games per week. Frankie, I want to talk to you about this, man. Do you think Nintendo can hit 20 to 30 indie? And are we talking like eShop type, like those dollar eShop games? Is that what we're talking about bringing to the Switch? Because I guess those would qualify as indies. But Frankie, do you think that's what we're looking at here, dude?
I hope so. I think if the eShop hits a point where it starts looking like the Wii U's eShop and just, garbage is coming out every week just to, hit a quota, I'm going to be really concerned about that. But I know there's a fair amount of games that people really want to see ported to the Switch they're going to come over. And, I think it was Devolver Digital was saying, like, look, if you have a good game people want, they're going to buy it. So I think that logic applies, especially with this. Like, if you're launching your game on a crowded day, but you're launching a game that people want, I don't think it's going to really affect a lot of the more well-known publishers and developers.
Mm-hmm. Boys, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. 20 to 30 independent titles a week. Are these all going to be quality games, dude?
No way. It's going to be, 30 games, and, there's going to be a few of them in there that are going to be good, and there's going to be a lot of them that are going to be questionable, some of them that are just probably flat out bad. And it's what we see on some of these other consoles now. Like, we see this on PlayStation. We see indie games come out every single week. There's some that are top-notch, some that are middle of the pack, and some that you probably want to stray away from. And Steam. I mean, just look at the wealth of games that come out on there every week, or look at the App Store with just a ridiculous amount of things that are going on there every single week. And there are some concerns with this method, and it's one of the things that, as a console gamer, we've been a little bit spoiled with that in the past. Like, we haven't had the deluge of titles that we see on Steam, or especially in the App Store.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, with the success of some of those storefronts, like the App Store, like Steam, like people are looking at that and they're taking note and they want to bring that to their own storefront. And it's not really what we want to see on the console market. Like, I don't want to go into the eShop and see 30 independent games on there. The eShop is not the greatest like shop as well. Like, you go on there, it's not super easy to find everything that you're looking for. And I know they're working on improving that, but it's not the greatest storefront right now. It's not really a place that you want to have 30 games dropped onto every week right now. Your game is going to get lost in the shuffle.
They get away with it now.
Yeah,
they've revamped it enough. Like, there's like a new release section, so everything coming out throughout the week is on there now. Like, compared to what it was when that thing came out, it's much more functional.
Yeah, they've been working on it. I think there is still some discoverability things that they need to work on, though. So even outside of like the new release list, like, how do you find these games after the week that they come out? There's some things there that need to be worked on. So it's like you can't buy all 30 of those games when they come out. So at some point you've got to go back and purchase some of these things in the past. And so they've got a little bit of work to do on that. But yeah, it's just like if you release 30 games a week, 25 of them are going to get lost in the shuffle, right? There's maybe 5 of them that are going to rise to the top, and maybe they're the cream of the crop, and they're really good games like Hollow Knight. Like, those ones are going to stick out. People are going to purchase those. But if you've got a good, like, middle of the road game that maybe doesn't do anything like super fancy or is not a million seller, but it's still like a solid title or a solid puzzle game that people deserve to have put in front of them, like, you might have trouble getting out in front of those people. So this is not an ideal situation. I don't think for anybody. That's why I don't really understand why you would want this to be your model. Like, it's not an ideal situation for the developers. It's not an ideal situation for the gamers. Maybe for the bottom line of Nintendo and the eShop, and maybe it works out for them. But it's not ideal. I feel like maybe 10 to 20 is where you want to be, somewhere in that range. Also, they're going to be competing with all the Nintendo games that are coming out at this time as well. So any week that they have a week where there's a big Nintendo release, like, you're either going to want to stray away from that, or your game's probably just going to get lost in the shuffle again. But yeah, I just wish this wasn't the case.
Right. Quick shout out to Fear the Beard in the chat and the man, the myth, the legend, Angels and Demons in the chat, and he agrees, man. Less is more when it comes to indie games. Less is more. Yeah. Angels, always good to see you. Fear the beard. I'm fearing that beard, even though I can't see it. I'm trying to rock a clean beard. Frankie's beard's already out of control, and it's only been like 2 days since he shaved, so it's unbelievable.
I actually shaved this morning.
He's like Homer Simpson, man. He shaves and then it just grows back right away. But boys, let's talk about some of the developers. I mean, some of the developers caught wind of this. They heard about what Nintendo said, and some of these developers actually spoke out, and it wasn't unanimous support for this decision by Nintendo.
Yeah, some interesting stuff in there. It's just via an article from IGN where they were talking to some of the different developers. But here's some of the quotes from them. So, quote, 20 to 30 games per week seems way too much. I can't see how this is positive for anyone, honestly. That's Mutant Mud's developer, Jules Watsham. The market is already saturated, but the number of titles developers choose to release isn't under Nintendo's control. Then we have this quote. It's obviously quite manageable numbers compared to the App Store, Google Play, or Steam, but we've always thought that those are pretty overcrowded, haven't we? This is I cannot say this guy's name. This is the CEO of SteamWorld Dig 2, Bjarne Sigurd Geirson. He's the like I said, CEO of SteamWorld Dig 2, developer Image and Form. Quote, this is the nature of digital storefronts, not just for Nintendo, but across all platforms. It's an environment that we're used to, and it's amazing to see Nintendo supporting all of these incredible indie games. That's Team 17's business development director, Harley Homewood. Quote, while anyone that launches a game on the eShop would probably prefer to launch amongst less competition, I'd still say the number of games released alongside yours doesn't matter as much if you have an outstanding anticipated game. That's from Devolver Digital. And, of course, they would say that. They make, like, kick-ass games.
Right.
Quote, Nintendo has a habit of curating content, which typically means approvals and manual labeler on their end. It may not only be too many titles for the eShop, it may also be too much work for Nintendo to realistically cope with. That's Sigurd Geirson, which is an interesting point there. Quote, creating systems to let players find more games related to the games they bought, search by publisher, search by rating systems to find high-quality games, discover games by categories, see game popularity by day, week, month, view featured games in different ways. This is Yacht Club's D'Angelo, speaking of possible additions they can make to the eShop. Quote, I hope they won't follow Valve's example with ultra-customized featuring. It makes it way harder for us, developers and publishers, to understand how to gain visibility exactly. This is Emu's CEO, Cyril Imbert.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, they should hurry to look at and implement what the overcrowded ones are already doing. This week's specials, people also bought, etc. Ensuring strong discoverability isn't just a benefit for players. It can help ensure the stability of the eShop's output. So this was Sigurd Geierson as well. And he went on to say this. Nintendo also needs to level the playfield so that smaller developers keep coming back. It's obvious that discoverability on Steam and App Stores favor the companies that are already very successful.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's typically harder to make games for consoles, first-time Switch developers may take one shot at the Switch, and if they're unsuccessful, they may decide it wasn't worth it. And then moving on from there, quote, we'll keep making the best games we can, regardless if there is one game or a million games released a day. The Switch is an amazing gaming machine, and we will continue to support it with our best efforts. That's Yacht Club Games' David D'Angelo. We would worry if the higher numbers meant that all the extra games that are coming were better than ours, but I'm confident that games from Image and Form, Zoink, and other developers published by Thunderful will hold their own. That's Sigurd Geierson.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of quotes out there. Some people are taking like the PC route and being very, positive about this. Some people are being a little more honest, I think, in terms of their feedback. But
Mm-hmm.
there's clearly like a wide range of thoughts from the development community. I think what it comes down to is simply that, yeah, in an ideal world, they would love a storefront that's not as crowded to get their games in front of more people. But it's going to come down to, can Nintendo curate this content? Can they make these games more discoverable outside of their initial release week? Like, can they handle that burden? And then I think the developers will be more on board with what's going on here. But for the time being, like, nobody's going to stop releasing their game or porting their games to the Switch.
It's probably some of the, I can't help but wonder if some of these developers are, these indie developers have the benefit of having like an indie publishing partner to work with. You've got the Digeratis out there. Who else did we talk about just a moment ago? Devolver
Curve.
Digital,
Devolver, Curve.
So I mean,
Team 17.
Yeah, some of these
yes.
some of these indie titles have the benefit of using an indie publisher, and that allows you to kind of get your game out there more. There's a lot of independent studios out there who don't have an indie publisher, and those are the ones that are probably a little more concerned. They don't have the money to throw around for marketing. They don't have that support that some of these bigger publishers, these mid-tier indie publishers, can actually get your game out there and put you at the top of the list and get people talking about it. So I won't be surprised if there's different opinions based on who's partnered up with who and who's not partnered at all.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So yeah, a couple more things we want to talk about. Just two more things we're going to address. First up, man, this is sad. The Culling 2 has shut down 8 days after release. 8 days after release. Now, Frankie, I know you weren't a fan of the Culling on Xbox when you first played it. I felt like when I watched it, there were some redeeming qualities to it, but it just overall wasn't a great game. And then that shut down after, 6 months? Was it 6 months it closed down?
I didn't even know. I don't even remember going out of game preview.
Ugh.
Yeah, it wasn't even released yet, I thought.
Yeah. So it got shut down, and then the developer is Xaviant.
Xaviant
comes out 2 weeks ago saying, "Hey, here comes Culling 2, and it's available today, free to play or whatever it was." And everyone's like,
"It's $20."
Yeah, $20.
$20.
And everyone's like, "Wow, really? Just like that? You just closed down the first one, and now here you are bringing out the second one." Dude, the second one did so bad. It reviewed horribly. But I remember a report like 2 days after launch that people were going on Steam and there were 2 people playing. At one point, there was only 2 people playing this game. So 8 days after release, the Culling 2 has been shut down. Developer Xaviant is hoping to give refunds to those who bought it. Xaviant is rebooting the original game as free-to-play as a result. So the original game is coming back as free-to-play, but Culling 2 is gone. In a video on Xaviant's official YouTube channel, Director of Operations Josh Van Velde issued an apology to the fans of the Culling for the botched launch of the Culling 2 last week. The decision to pull the plug on the Culling 2 resulted from complaints over abandoning the original game, a decreased emphasis on melee combat, low server populations, like really low, and a generally poor reception. And this is what Van Velde had to say. It's been very difficult for us to wrap our head around the entire situation. The Culling 2 was not a game that you asked for, and it's not the game you expect as a worthy successor to the Culling. Frankie, was there ever a worthy successor to the Culling? Just wondering. I'm just going based on what he said. I was just asking you if you thought there was a worthy successor.
How can there be a worthy successor if the game never even came out? They never even finished it, right?
I guess.
I don't know.
I guess.
If it came out of early access, it was one of those stealth things that I'm assuming no one knew about.
Jeez. Xaviant is currently in the process of contacting Valve, Sony, and Microsoft in efforts to remove the Culling 2 from their digital storefronts and is making sure those who bought the game receive full refunds. To move forward, Xaviant is returning to the day one build of the Culling, realized that it changed too much too fast about the original game. So they're going back to the game that they supposedly were done with, abandoning, and they're going to make it free to play and just focus on that.
You know what I think they should do?
What's that, Frankie?
Lichdom Battle Mage 2.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's make it happen. Make sure it's the console version. Don't want the PC version that runs smooth. Bring out follow up to the console.
Don't let Maximum Games touch it, and it'll be fine.
Anytime Maximum Games touches anything, it's just insta death. Yeah. But you guys got any thoughts on this, boys? I mean, this is just weird. I mean, it's just really weird. I mean, I'm not really sure there's anything you can really add to this to kind of explain what the hell is going on in Xaviant. But this just seemed like a botched job at the Culling, an even more botched job at the Culling 2, and announcing it and the release of it, and then closing it 8 days later, and now returning to the one game that they abandoned. This is just weird. Like, cue the Benny Hill theme song, dude.
Yeah, this is an unmitigated disaster. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. Literally, like, there's no like logical path of thought that you could follow for what was going on at this developer. Like, they come out, they're like, "Hey, the Culling 2 is ready." They release it the next day. It's just an absolute train wreck. One of the worst reviewed games ever in like the history of reviewed games. It comes out, just everybody hates it. They pull the game in 8 days and then go back to the game that they abandoned and say, "Okay, we're going to start making this game better now." What? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Benny Hill theme music for sure. This is just like just an absolute circus, man. I have no idea what is going on at this studio right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if this whole debacle like leads to them eventually just shutting down or them having to go find new positions at another studio. But this is just I'm speechless for what happened with the Culling 2. It's literally just like, why would you ever trust anything from this developer ever again? They released a game and took it back in 8 days. Like, we've seen servers get closed like quickly on games, but we've never seen a game just shut down after 8 days. It's like, come on, dude. How does your game shut down in 8 days? You have to know when you're putting this thing out that it's a train wreck.
It shuts down in 8 days after piss poor reviews and the fact that there's only 2 people playing your game 3 days after launch. That's how you shut it down. There's no reason to even sustain that game to keep it out there. It's not making any money. It's dead on arrival. And now you're going to try to go back and improve the game that you abandoned in the first place. If I'm not the head of operations, if I'm just a lowly developer there, I am like, I'm out of here. Deuces. I'll see you guys later. I'm not going to be a part of this. It's like when an actor is a part of a bad movie and he's like, don't put me in the credits. I don't want to be there. All these developers are like, take me out of here. I'm done. I don't want to be a part of this place. Just put Joe Schmo as my name in the credits. I'm good.
In the movies, you're just like, go get Nicolas Cage, right? I'm out of here. he'll do the movie.
He'll do it. He'll do it for Nichols. So
yeah, he'll do it.
Yeah, just a really, really strange story there. And last thing we want to talk about, we opened with the Collector's Edition. We're going to close with a Collector's Edition. Gentlemen, the Resident Evil 2 Collector's Edition has been announced. It's pre-order only at GameStop, $199.99 US. And with this, you will get the Raccoon Police Department renovation blueprints, the Resident Evil 2 Deluxe Edition, the Deluxe Edition DLC pack voucher, a digital soundtrack, Frankie, a 12-inch Leon S. Kennedy RPD version figurine, a collector's art book, an RPD item box packaging, plus all the DLC, deluxe DLC pack contents, the original version soundtrack swap, a Leon costume, multiple Leon costumes, and then you got a pre-order bonus, the deluxe weapons, the Samurai Edge Chris model and the Samurai Edge Jill model. $199. Frankie, I think you and I agree. This is a pretty sweet-looking collector's edition, dude.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Really?
Don't think I'm picking it up.
Not picking it up, though?
I don't know. Here's the thing. I understand, the Darksiders thing, it's $400. But look, Darksiders is one of my favorite franchises. And while I like Resident Evil, it's just not a franchise that I'm, in love with.
Right.
So, it is very nice, though. I'll hem and haw about it and probably decide around Christmas time.
I tell you what, Angels and Demons, all he needs is for him to throw an umbrella and a zombie in there, and he's buying it. I like that idea. Now, boys, this seems like this might be a little bit more in your ballpark. I know you're a big fan of Resident Evil. I know this $199 is a lot better than $399 for Darksiders. Where are you at on this one, dude?
I am planning to pick this one up. I like the way this looks, like the contents in it. I do like the Resident Evil 7 Collector's Edition that GameStop put out for that game. I have that one. Yeah, so this one I think will look good right alongside there. So I will be grabbing this one, I think.
Awesome. I, too, am considering picking this up. I might have to wait a little bit closer, see how I get through the holidays, see what kind of damage is done there. But as long as it's still available, if I can make it just to Christmas, just before Christmas, and I got all the kids' stuff done, the wife's stuff done, and everything's bought, if I can look at my wallet and not want to kill myself, I might actually go out and pre-order this thing from GameStop. We'll see what happens. But it is a nice-looking collector's edition. I like everything that comes with it. Very, very good-looking stuff.
Yeah.
So, that is going to do it for this week's show, gentlemen. A lot of good stuff to talk about. A lot of collector's editions to gawk over. I can't wait for Ben to inadvertently pick up the Darksiders 3 Collector's Edition. That should be a great show. Make sure you tune into that one the week before, November 27th, so you can catch boys going.
We won't be here. That's an off week.
Oh, that's right. It's Thanksgiving week. Well, maybe we'll just do a live stream after Boy sends me a text. I'll just do a quick live stream and be like, he did it! And then cut it out.
Let's do a live unboxing.
But I apologize for earlier when the stream cut out. Not really sure what happened with that. The folks on Twitch and Mixer, we weren't able to film or stream this portion of the podcast. We will get it uploaded there for you so you can catch the rest of it. If you're listening to this podcast, you didn't have any issues. Everything played through nicely, so you're welcome. But again, I apologize for the stream cutting off. Not really sure what that was all about, but we were able to get back here on YouTube, Mixer, and Twitch. We will get this portion of it uploaded for you tomorrow. But gentlemen, where can we find you gaming and tweeting? Mr. Boyce.
As always, Brent, I'll be not tweeting at Piccolo930. It's my PSN ID as well as where you can find me on Xbox and Switch. The Tuesday Night Indie Spotlight, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, is going to be a Runbow this week.
Runbow.
So we're gonna fire that one up, see what it's all about, and should be a good time. So stop on by if you are so inclined.
Awesome, Mr. Ayler.
Bender likes that game, I think.
He does like Rumbo.
Yeah. Nice. You can find me on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Twitter, Nintendo Switch, pretty much anywhere at Viper Strike. If you're watching the video, down below, spelled out. So, yeah.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter at TheDude1979, Xbox Live, TheRealDude79, and Nintendo Switch and PlayStation Network, TheDude79. Make sure you follow the website, make sure you follow the website on Twitter at The Short Pause. Visit the website, www.shortpause.com. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Google Play, and Stitcher, or you can watch it right here on YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, and it'll also be uploaded to our Facebook channel. If you'd like to give us a review, if you want to go over and give us a 5-star review on iTunes, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. It allows our show to get some more exposure. However, if we haven't earned that 5-star rating, that's fine. That's cool. We want to earn it. We don't want any freebies. Send us an email, podcast@shortpause.com. Any forms of criticism, we're welcome to it. We appreciate it. It's the only way the show will get better is if we hear from you. So make sure you send us your feedback, questions, criticisms, suggestions, anything. Podcast@shortpause.com. Subscribe to our channels, Twitch, Facebook, Mixer, and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that little bell just so you get a notification every time we go live. We need to hear from you. We want to hang out with you. We want to talk to you in the chat. Everyone that was in here tonight, Angels and Demons, Fear the Beard, Jacob, JD was in here, Super Cooper, HTK. We had Fastback in here. We had the chat was rocking. We really appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with us. Again, I apologize for whatever happened with the stream when it cut off, but we do appreciate you coming back, those of you that hung with us late. So for Mr. Boyce and Mr. Ayler, I'm Brent Felsing. Thanks again for watching and listening to the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.